John Milton, an introduction. John Milton was born in Bread Street, London, on the 9th of December 1608. His early years were privately tutored before gaining a place at St Paul's School. He matriculated at Christ's College, Cambridge, earning a BA in 1629 and an MA in 1632. At Cambridge, he had developed a reputation for poetic skill, but also experienced alienation from his peers and university life as a whole. The next 6 years were spent in private study. He read both ancient and modern works of theology, philosophy, history, politics, literature and science in preparation for his career as a poet. Milton mastered Latin, Greek, Hebrew, French, Spanish and Italian. To these he would add Old English whilst researching his history of Britain, and also acquired more than a passing acquaintance in Dutch. Although he was studying, some of his poetry from this time is remarkable: L'Allegro and Il Penseroso in 1631 and Lycidius in 1638. That same year in May, Milton embarked upon a 15-month tour of France and Italy. These travels added a new and direct experience of artistic and religious traditions, especially Roman Catholicism. He cut the journey short to return home during the summer of 1639 because of what he claimed were sad tidings of civil war in England. Once home, Milton wrote prose tracts against episcopacy in the service of the Puritan and parliamentary cause. He married 16-year-old Mary Powell in June 1643, but she left him after only a few months, during which he wrote and published several writings on divorce. Mary did return after 3 years, and their life thereafter seemed harmonious. Milton received a hostile response to the divorce tracts and drove him to write Areopagitica, his celebrated attack on pre-printing censorship. With the parliamentary victory in the Civil War, Milton wrote The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates, 1649, which defended popular government and implicitly sanctioned the regicide, which led to his appointment as Secretary for Foreign Tongues by the Council of State. On 24th of February 1652, Milton published his Latin defence of the English people, Defensio pro Populo Anglicano, also known as the First Defence. Milton's Latin prose and intellectual sweep quickly gained him a European reputation. Tragically, his wife Mary died on the 5th of May 1652, following the birth of their 4th child. The following year, Milton had become totally blind, probably due to glaucoma. He then had to dictate his verse and prose to helpers, one of whom was the poet Andrew Marvell. He married again to Catherine Woodcott, but she died in February 1658, less than 4 months after giving birth to a daughter, who also tragically died. Though Cromwell's death in 1658 caused the English Republic to collapse, Milton stubbornly clung to his beliefs, and in 1659 he published A Treatise of Civil Power, attacking the concept of a state-dominated church. Upon the Restoration in May 1660, Milton went into hiding for his life. An arrest warrant was issued and his writings burnt. He re-emerged after a general pardon was issued, but was nevertheless arrested and briefly imprisoned before influential friends, such as Marvell, now an MP, intervened. His 3rd marriage was to Elizabeth Minshull. Despite a 31-year age gap, the marriage seemed happy, and Milton spent the remaining decade of his life living quietly in London, apart from a short spell in Chalfont St Giles during the Great Plague of London. Milton was to now publish his greatest works, which had been gestating for many years. Paradise Lost, perhaps the classic English epic poem, was originally published in 10 books in 1667. This was followed by Paradise Regained and Samson Agonistes in 1671. Because of his anti-monarchy views, their reception was muted, but over the centuries since, Milton has established himself as second only to Shakespeare. He died of kidney failure on the 8th of November 1674 and was buried in the Church of St Giles, Cripplegate.
Paradise Regained, an extract from the first book by John Milton. I, who erewhile the happy garden sung by one man's disobedience lost, now sing recovered paradise to all mankind, by one man's firm obedience fully tried through all temptation, and the tempter foiled in all his wiles, defeated and repulsed, and Eden raised in the waste wilderness. Thou Spirit, who ledst this glorious eremite into the desert, his victorious field against the spiritual foe, and broughtst him thence by proof the undoubted Son of God, inspire as thou art wont my prompted song, else mute, and bear through height or depth of nature's bounds, with prosperous wing full summed, to tell of deeds above heroic, though in secret done, and unrecorded left through many an age, worthy to have not remained so long unsung. Now had the great proclaimer, with a voice more awful than the sound of trumpet, cried repentance, and heaven's kingdom night at hand to all baptized. To his great baptism flocked with awe the regions round, and with them came from Nazareth the son of Joseph deemed to the flood Jordan, came as then obscure, unmarked, unknown. But him the Baptist soon descried, divinely warned, and witness bore as to his worthier, and would have resigned to him his heavenly office. Nor was long his witness unconfirmed. On him baptized, heaven opened, and in likeness of a dove the Spirit descended, while the Father's voice from heaven pronounced him his beloved Son. That heard the adversary, who roving still about the world at that assembly famed would not be last, and with the voice divine nigh thunderstruck, the exalted man to whom such high attest was given, a while surveyed with wonder. Then, with envy fraught and rage, flies to his place, nor rests but in mid-air to council summons all his mighty peers, within thick clouds and dark tenfold involved, a gloomy consistory. And them amidst, with looks aghast and sad, he thus bespake. O ancient powers of air, and this wide world, for much more willingly I mention air, this our old conquest, than remember hell, our hated habitation. Well ye know how many ages as the years of men this universe we have possessed, and ruled in manner at our will the affairs of earth, since Adam and his facile consort Eve lost paradise, deceived by me. Though since with dread attending when that fatal wound shall be inflicted by the seed of Eve upon my head. Long the decrees of heaven delay, for longest time to him is short. And now, too soon for us, the circling hours this dreaded time have compassed, wherein we must bide the stroke of that long-threatened wound, at least if so we can, and by the head broken be not intended all our power to be infringed, our freedom and our being in this empire one of earth and air. For this ill news I bring. The woman's seed, destined to this, is late of woman born. His birth to our just fear gave no small cause, but his growth now to youth's full power, displaying all virtue, grace, and wisdom, to achieve things highest, greatest, multiplies my fear. Before him a great prophet, to proclaim his coming, is sent harbinger, who all invites, and in the consecrated stream pretends to wash off sin, and fit them so purified to receive him pure, or rather to do him honour as their king. All come, and he himself among them was baptized, nor thence to be more pure, but to receive the testimony of heaven, that who he is thenceforth the nations may not doubt. I saw the prophet do him reverence, on him rising out of the water, heaven above the clouds unfold her crystal doors, thence on his head a perfect dove descend, whate'er it meant, and out of heaven the sovereign voice I heard, This is my Son beloved, in him am pleased. His mother then is mortal, but his sire, he who obtains the monarchy of heaven. And what will he not do to advance his son? His first begot we know, and sore have felt when his fierce thunder drove us to the deep. Who this is we must learn, for man he seems in all his lineaments, though in his face the glimpses of his father's glory shine.
Sonnet 19 by John Milton. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labour light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent that murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait.
On His Blindness by John Milton. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent, which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labour light denied? I fondly ask. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait.